to start off with a quote by Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So this actually just came to me today when I opened a book today. I had already had most of my quotes and notes put together, and then this was the glue that brought it all together and actually helped me get rid of a bunch of quotes that I don't need. So how does this correlate with our new theme of compound interest, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. So as I have mentioned, Glenn and I are in a Monday night class called Quantum Habits, and on Saturdays I am teaching a class here on forgiveness. And yesterday, because it was the first Saturday of the month, we were in our abundant good journey, as we are every first Saturday, and the topic was owning your power. And so there were conversations going around about owning power and then giving away power. And I was jotting my notes down because for me, and I was trying to think why, does it matter why? But I was thinking why. And it's probably the idealist in me is like power is like capital P power. Power is who and what we are. Power is the energy, it is the essence, it is the thing that is forever unleashing itself, wanting to unleash itself, ready to unleash itself in, through, and as everyone and everything. And so, do we own it? Like, it's who we are. How can we own something that we already are? And can we ever give it away? Because if it's who and what we are, how could we possibly ever give it away? Which kind of reminded me of back in November, for those of you who were here for Celebrate, when Reverends Gary and Pam Ninneman were on the stage with me, and Reverend Gary was talking about how there was a massive power outage in Seattle, and people were talking about, I've lost my power. I don't know when I'm going to get it back. And he's just standing there, totally new thought. It's like, how can you ever give away or lose something that you actually are? And so that was going through my mind in this class yesterday. And so Dr. Joselito actually called on me and said, Reverend Lesia, what do you think? And I'm like, well, here's what's coming up for me. And so he actually then ended up changing it to embodying the power you are, embodying your power or disembodying. But what was really interesting was that someone else had a totally different take on giving away the power. And it wasn't giving away as in it's gone. It was giving it away as in sharing it, right? And distributing it, redistributing it, and supporting others, which I thought, wow, that is so super cool. And so it just made me think, every single moment we are at choice, right? Every single moment we are choosing. And according to Viktor Frankl, it's in this space between the stimulus or the trigger and how we actually respond where we are making that choice, right? And we, as a New Thought community, as metaphysicians, as people who believe that we create our life experience, that there's no outside or separate entity or force that is doing that for us or to us, we are the ones that get to decide, consciously or unconsciously, in that space, how we're going to respond to this, which then informs how we move forward in the next now moment, right? And so to me, that totally goes with our topic of compound interest, because interest to me is attention. Interest is the creativity, is the focus, is the power that we are being honed in on a specific moment and being directed in a certain way. Is everyone with me so far? I feel like there are a lot of words coming out of my mouth. This is what happens when you don't write a talk, right? It just comes out very spontaneously. And so in the forgiveness class yesterday, which ended up being very small because there were a lot of people away, and so I think there were 7 of us. And so there was a lot of resistance that was coming up, whether it was resistance to doing the homework, whether it was resistance to forgiving, whether it was resistance to, do I actually need to think about, do I need to forgive? There was resistance. And so sometimes we were talking about, well, if there's resistance, maybe it means that there's something that requires attention. Because if there wasn't that resistance, then you would feel relaxed and you would feel calm. And if you feel calm, then that means you're in alignment. But sometimes we're not ready, right? And there could be the resistance in that. We think we should be doing this according to someone else's rules or expectations. but we're not ready to take that step. And so we're in this space of like, should I be true to myself or should I be following the rules of what someone else is trying to tell me? You know, whether it's my family, my teachers, my society, a minister at the front of the room. I'm never going to tell you, do this, okay? I am reminding everyone that we are here to find our own relationship, our own interpretation of what God, what spirit, what source, what creativity means for us, okay? You take whatever I say and whatever works for you, use it. And if it doesn't, that's okay, right? We're not here to tell people what to think. We are here to encourage people. This is how you can think and how you can create your life experience. Anyway, so going back to the forgiveness class, there was a quote from one of the chapters that we were working on. The hurt will always find expression, whether it is directed inward and causes you suffering, or is directed outward and hurts those close to you. The hurt will not lie down. And so this was very much about telling the story and naming the hurt, and not spiritual bypassing all the way from something happened to it's all good, it's all God, right? Kind of talked about this last week a little bit. And so there were people in the class that were like, I want to forgive, but I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to relive it. I don't want to rehash it. I don't want to feel those feelings again. And in the book, telling the story and naming the hurt is about telling the story enough times until you are no longer trapped in it, until you're no longer bogged down by the feelings and the emotions associated with what happened that are being dragged into the present moment by you. So it was going over and over to sort of see, am I ready? Is this what I want to do? Do I need to do this? And no one can answer those questions except for you, right? Like I can't answer them for you, just like I can't do the work for you. No one can live your life for you. And so the rest of that quote is, you may not have had a choice in being harmed, but you can always choose to be healed. And we also heard stories yesterday of healing, of consciously choosing, I don't want to feel this way anymore, so I'm choosing this. And that's what happens in that space, right? Between the stimulus and response, is we choose which direction we're going to go in. And when we're talking about the forgiveness class, it's either the path of anger, resentment, revenge, retaliation, or it's the path of forgiveness, of letting go. And sometimes we have no idea what that's going to look like, what that outcome is going to look like, right? So this brought me, with all of this resistance, I thought, I want to talk about resistance a bit more, because to me, I train resistance training at the gym with big weights. And resistance, you have to do it if you want to grow, okay? If you want to gain muscle, you have to stretch them, you have to challenge them, you have to do things that actually break them apart so that they can then heal stronger, supporting you to move through life, with those bigger, stronger muscles. Same thing with our consciousness, okay? Same thing with our minds, okay? So I brought a band, and I'm going to see if I can do this, because this is a band. I've had these bands myself for a while, and we have them at the gym. And so when I first started working out a year ago, I had to walk with these bands across a massive gym, and I had to turn my toes inwards so that I could really activate my glutes and go side to side like this, right? After a few steps, I'm like, oh my God. And I would have to stand there and breathe, muster the courage, and then keep going in the same direction, even though I wanted to go in the other one because it was just hurting so much. And then I would rest, and then it's like, okay, come back this way. All right, I'm done. Nope, do it again, and then do it again, 3 times. Everything is in 3s, right? But here's the thing, a year later, I can go back and forth 3 times without resting in between. I don't have to stop or anything. And the cool thing is, not that I can just do it, but because these glute muscles are foundational muscles that affect your hips, your knees, your back, your ankles, your feet, everything. Once you get the foundational muscles in order, all of that other stuff starts to come back into alignment. And it's the same thing with our emotions, with our feelings, with our thoughts. And so the idea here is that you need resistance in your life if you want to grow, okay? Because resistance is about challenging. It is about stretching. It is about pulling. It is about pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. And going out of our comfort zone is the only way that we are going to experience more of that wholeness that we inherently are in every single aspect of our lives. And so I say bring on the resistance, because if the resistance is the stimulus, we get to choose how we respond in that space, right? And so we can think, oh my God, this is so hard. I can't do it. Oh my God, when is this going to be over? But eventually becomes, oh, wow, you know what? I'm actually doing it. I'm actually doing it. Look at me. I've done it, right? Same thing with things in our life. I don't have the time, energy, wherewithal, bandwidth. I don't know how. That person, oh my God, why don't they understand? They're driving me insane. If that's what you focus on, what's going to happen? You're going to experience more of that. But if you focus on, this is a learning opportunity, this is a stretching, a pulling opportunity to expand me beyond my comfort zone, what is mine to learn here? Then you get to sit back, become the observer, receive all of that as information, and then make a more conscious choice going forward, which then completely informs a different experience of life. And so that's what we are doing here. We are consciously choosing more and more often, more and more purposefully, as often as we possibly can, to choose wholeness, to remember who we are, to show up as the love that we truly are, and to recognize that even if the person in front of us, beside us, on the news, in another country, whatever, is driving us bonkers, we don't understand how they could possibly make those choices, that person is God too. That person is love too. And it's our job to recognize that love beyond all of the choices and know that the love that we are, the spirit, the source, the infinite potentiality that we are, is bigger and more powerful and more resilient than all of the problems, all of the challenges, all of the hurdles of all time put together. That's what we focus on in that space. And the more we focus on that, then the more that focus or interest compounds as our life experience, right? So between stimulus and response, there's opportunity to challenge, stretch, break apart our previous assumptions, worldviews, and beliefs. I do, I can, tell me more. Help me to understand your point of view. So the talk title for today is Between Stimulus and Response. And so what I'm inviting all of us to do is be more aware, be more conscious of what it is that we're doing in that creative opportunity, that magical opportunity in between stimulus and response, so that the response ends up being in alignment with wholeness. Because what we focus on expands. And back to our affirmation, I live in alignment with divine circulation, appreciating and knowing that every investment in wholeness yields infinite return. We were singing about it in the opening song. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. The more gratitude you express, the more there is to express gratitude for, right? So the more we focus, invest our attention on who and what we truly are, which is consciousness, love, God, whatever you want to call it, the more we experience the wholeness of our being and the wholeness of everyone else's being around us, right? Because there's only one thing going on. So I want to leave you with this. Every moment we are investing in something, every moment we get to notice. What are we choosing? How are we responding? And based on that response, how are we moving forward? The more we live in alignment with divine circulation, the more consciously we choose to embrace our growth and amplify our freedom, the more wholly we embody the love we truly are. Thank you, and so it is.